All right, we are here with Jason Tartick, the author of the Restart Roadmap. Jason, thank you for being here. It's so nice to finally meet you.
Yes, finally. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, well, congratulations on the book. I did finish reading it. I thought it was really great. So I want to know, like, how did it feel to kind of come out with the book and what has been the response from readers?
Yeah, so the response has been fantastic. And I mean, coming out with the book in a time where like the world hit restart in 2020, it
Mhm.
just seems so appropriate. What's crazy is in 2021, it was the most amount of people that left their jobs voluntarily than ever before. So I think we're starting to see the whole idea of people writing their own story as opposed to it being written for them. And then the other thing I'll just say is it's been so cool because on a day-to-day basis, I'll get these DMs like, hey, I just got a $20,000 raise because of you. Hey, I just started my side
Ooh.
hustle. And so that impact is just, I mean, when you're in the book business, you can make a few bucks, but you're not getting rich off making writing a book. It's a lot of it's for impact, and the impact has been awesome so far. And it's very rewarding.
That's awesome. So did it just like work out where like the pandemic hit? Is that when you wrote the book, or was it just like you were going to write it anyway and the world crashed at the right time?
Yeah, I think it's actually a really good lesson for people. So when the world crashed is when I started this consulting company called Restart. It's very
Mm.
focused on career navigation and financial literacy, right? And so I just kept banging out content with under this Restart consulting group. And it was actually a book agent out of New York that was seeing the content, and she worked for a publisher, or no, she worked for a book agent. She's like, "Hey, I see what you're doing. I think you might be able to write a book about this." So she approached me about it. We got talking, we put a
Mm.
proposal together, shopped it out to publishers, and HarperCollins bid on it. And so I think the takeaway there is anyone out there, if you're listening to this podcast, you have a thought, you have an idea, you have an opinion, do what I did with Restart, do what Zach does every single day with your channels, and you just never know which ways it could take you.
Yeah, I think there's really something to be said about people who are entrepreneurs and just start their own companies. And it's just like the way we are these days, it's like you don't really need a boss. You can kind of just become your own boss, which is what is really cool, what we're both doing. Now, I did feel like after reading your book, I took a lot of your advice, but I also felt like I kind of found my career. I kind of found my city. So is this book only for people who are lost in their career, or like what is the demographic of people you want to read?
See, I think it's people that are trying to make like a extreme material change, like rethinking where they live, what they do, how they got there, and why, like rewiring and restarting, making big, big changes. Or I think there are things in here that even if you're looking for a very minor change, this can help you. And so someone like you, Zach, like you've already
Mhm.
found your path. You know where you want to be. You've identified your passion and impact and purpose. Now this is the fun part. It's about accelerating the path
Mhm.
you're on. It's about utilizing some of the tools of branding yourself and networking. And one ear could change so many things for you. One relationship could change the trajectory of the path that you're on. And I think even like the negotiating chapter, when you hear that only 37% of people in their entire life negotiate for themselves, as an entrepreneur, really thinking and learning how you can negotiate for what you spend, how you deploy your time, and how you can make more in instances where you're monetizing. Super important.
Yeah, I loved the chapter when you were talking about like where to live because I feel like so many of my friends they graduate college, they're like, where do I want to live? What do I want to do? And it's like so true that you need to kind of weigh out all of your options. And you obviously moved around a lot in your 20s. Do you think that was like fun moving around? Because I almost feel like I moved to LA, I'm set here, but like I want to travel. And then the pandemic just kind of hit. So I feel kind of stuck in a way, even though like I also found my city.
Yeah, I mean, I want to just put this out there as a guy who I grew up in Buffalo. I've lived in
Mhm.
Syracuse, Rochester, Buffalo, Cleveland, Geneseo, Dallas, Charlotte, Nashville, Seattle. I feel like
Mhm.
I've lived in a lot of cities.
Yeah.
And while Buffalo is where I grew up, I still haven't found what you have found in LA. And for anyone out there that has found their place that they feel professionally, financially, and personally contributes to their overall happiness, kudos to you. I still haven't found that. I'm in Nashville. I don't think this is the end all be all for me. But one thing that was so important for me was getting out of that small bubble in Buffalo. I love
Mhm.
the place. I adore the city. But when you kind of limit your just like your constrictions to a small circle, that can limit so many opportunities for you. It can limit your thinking process. It limits so much in moving. I got to meet so many different people and hear different stories from their background, and it helped shape me as an individual and become who I am today. Even though I still haven't found that one spot, I'm like, I'll be here forever.
Yeah, I mean, moving is so important, and like doing things by yourself, traveling, I think is so important. Otherwise, you do get stuck in your bubble of your small town and you can't like experience things or meet new people. So I definitely liked how you talked a lot about that in the book. And I got to know, like, is that how you gained your knowledge from just like traveling and pushing yourself to do new things? Because you seem to be a very analytical, observant person. You just have like all of this knowledge you just put into this book. So where did you gain all of that?
I think just the natural, like, analytical side of me. I think maybe that I was born with that or developed it as a kid. But I do think being able to like do more listening than talking, do more observing than making assumptions, being able to kind of lead with curiosity as opposed to your ego has been really a huge differentiator for me. Even when I think about like the Bachelor mansion, like being in that house, I think that is one of the big reasons that I was able to have a little success in that house, is because I wasn't, leading with my ego. I wasn't leading with, I got to know everything and be the best looking and be the guy. I just want to just observe. And what's cool is through Wall Street of observing some of Forbes, most powerful bankers and executives, and then seeing behind the scenes of some of the stories I've told, like on GMA, and some of the experts of marketing, like a Michael Strahan or a Hoda or Kathy B, like watching them prep, and then when the camera's on, watching them nail it, or just being in the unscripted television world for 3 months and having cameos on different shows and stuff. I got to learn so much. And what's cool about this book is I try to take those principles and apply them to an everyday individual or an anyday person that's just trying to find their path in their way.
Yeah, and I love how you brought it back to like your time on The Bachelorette a lot, because that's probably why a lot of people are going to buy the book, just because you were on The Bachelor. We can't deny that. So like, what was it that made you decide to go on The Bachelorette to begin with?
I mean, where I found myself was like my 20s. I was the yes guy, like for work, right? Like, get in early, stay late. Boss asks for something, it's done immediately. They ask you to move, you go. The longest move I made was from New York to Seattle. I went over 3,000 miles. And then I hit a point in like when I think it was, right around 29, I was just like, I am so checked out. I started actually looking for like different career options. And one thing I did was I put a budgeting system in place so that I knew that 2 years from when I landed in Seattle, I would have the financial independence to go do my own thing. But I didn't know if it was going to wait till, if that's what it was going to be, October of 2019, or it was going to be another opportunity. And holy hell, there was another opportunity, and it was The Bachelorette. And so I got asked to start going through the application process just 2-3 months, Zach, after I had moved my whole life to Seattle. So you can imagine at like the 6th month mark, or I don't know, maybe it was 5-month mark, I go to my boss, who just paid a good amount of money and went through a whole lot to get me out to Seattle. When I came knocking on his door with a memo asking him to go to The Bachelorette, you can imagine how thrilled he was.
Wait, so they reached out to you like producers, or did somebody nominate you?
Oh, so the funny story with this is I did a charity auction through Gilda's Club. Me and my very close friend, we both did it. And so essentially what happens is they have a marquee event in Rochester, New York. They get 30 bachelors from all different backgrounds and professions, and you have to raise money before the event. During the event, you come out, you start dancing, you go crazy. And then what happens is people will bid on you for a date. And so that night, one of the 30 guys I got bid on, I think I tell the story in the book, I got bid on this amount. And I get a call, and it was when I lived in Seattle. It's like, hey, we have this video footage from you at the Bachelor auction. This is Bachelor, and they left a voicemail. This is Bachelor at ABC. We'd love to talk to you. So I didn't call him back immediately. And I called my best buddy, the best buddy who was in the auction with me. I'm like, dude, you're not going to believe this. This is a kind of a crazy thing. He's like, I have something crazy to tell you too. I was like, you do? He's like, yeah. And he went first. He told me first. He goes, I just got a call from the ABC, The Bachelorette, referencing Gilda's Club, like the auction. I was like, get out of here. So did I. He's like, stop it. So we both got to go. Funny enough, we both went to like New York. So New York was where they did like I don't know what they call it, regionals or whatever. And then I ended up going to the top 50 thing in LA, and he didn't get the call. But he ended up, ironically enough, I had a date with Becca, season 14, episode 6. The reason I knew that, because they always joke, my buddies joke around, like, oh yeah, we had 10 seconds of airtime, season 14, episode 6. But she surprised me with my friends, and the guy, his name's Hawk, he was there, so he was still part of the show after that whole pretty good thing.
Thank God. I mean, did he ever resent you for getting on and not him?
I mean, he's never expressed that to me. I think he busts my chops. Damn, that could have been me. I tried to get him on, and it didn't work out. And he actually he was like this close to going on Love Is Blind. And then what happened was he ended up getting a girlfriend. So he told him no. The funny part about that is we were in Chicago this past weekend. I was visiting him. Okay. And we met Natalie from Love Is Blind. And I was like, oh my God, you guys were supposed to be on the same show. He was supposed to be there. I'm like, what could have happened?
Oh, and now he has a girlfriend. Otherwise, because Natalie is single. I actually just ran into her a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
That would have been perfect.
I know. Bummer.
Next time, maybe next season. So if you never went on the show, I think, would you ever have like taken this entrepreneurship and like went into Restart? Or do you think it really was the show that pushed you and like gave you the platform?
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, the show gave me the platform, right? And then the platform was, how do you build it? And can you do something that is meaningful to you, that's true to you, that's authentic to you? And so that was Restart. But my plan was, like at least what I was thinking, I didn't have a set plan, but my buddy, I grew up with Rob Gronkowski, tight end of the Patriots. And I got to see, well, now he's tight end of the Buccaneers, but I got to like see the agents, and I got to like see his kind of lifestyle and like the people that were working to get him things and do stuff like that. And I always thought that was like the coolest thing in the world. So the avenue I wanted to explore, because I was good at selling, I enjoy selling. I was like, I could sell people like Rob. I could do stuff like that. And so my thought was, I'm already in Seattle. I could bop down to LA after 2 years, once I finished my financial situation, and try and get like in the sports agent or actor agent or some type of agent capacity. So I think that's pretty entrepreneurship, that world. But yeah, that was the plan. And then all of a sudden ABC called.
Yeah, I want to talk about these negotiations. I think a lot of people were interested on like you becoming the next Bachelor with Blake and Colton. Now, you did share in the book that Colton was like a master negotiator, and he convinced the producers that he was going to give the best TV show. Now, you and Colton were good friends at the time. So did you ever resent him for getting that part of the Bachelor? Did you really want it that badly? And how do you think he feels after hearing about what you wrote about him in the book?
Yeah, so me, Blake and Colton were really close at the time, and we called Colton and said, "Congratulations, man! Like, this is awesome. Like, we'll be rooting for you. Whatever we could do to support you when the season comes out, like, we're totally here for you." So, that was, I don't think that, of course, I think Blake and I both wanted. I think he was a little surprised. I think Blake thought that. Blake had said to me, he's like, "I thought you were going to get it." And I said to him, "I thought you were going to get it." And then we're like, "Hey, well, good for Colton." So, I don't think there was any like resentment. And throughout the whole season, like if you go back to all the probably like interviews, not that you would want to bore yourself and fall asleep, but anytime we were asked to do anything to support the season, we did. We did stuff for Good Morning America. We were excited about him. We did his premiere event, which was actually really cool. I wish the Bachelor would do more like that. They brought alumni in different cities, and we got to do this like cool hosting thing that was like so much fun. And I was invited to do his finale too. And in his finale, was extremely supportive and happy for him. So yeah, I don't know that there was resentment other than like, oh, that would have been cool,
Yeah, of course. Well, have you talked to him since your book came out?
Yeah, so we've talked a little bit, and I would say that we're in just a fine place. I think we have talked.
Awesome. And I love that you love the gays as your brother is gay. So that always made me love you so much when you were on Becca's season. Now, you ended up meeting Kaitlyn organically through, you did her podcast, which was really awesome. And you guys are together, and she is a successful entrepreneur. And she kind of shares this story on her podcast that ultimately gets you fired from your job. So I got to ask you again, I guess resentment is the clear word. Was this a blessing in disguise that you were fired from your corporate job? Or were you just like, damn it, Kaitlyn, I can't be with you now?
I think it was a mix of, I think that when it happened, it was shock. Like, wait, what? What just happened? How did this happen? And my initial instinct was honestly straight protection. I was like, I have to, like, Kaitlyn and I just started dating. I have to like protect our relationship so that something like this doesn't break us. And, you know, I protected it so much. I talk in the book that I actually never told my parents about it. My parents always knew, like I told my parents when I was going to leave, right? So they knew that, like when I got to Seattle, I'm very open, like I'm not happy. I'm going to leave this position. I need 2 years of financial stability. So they expected it. I get off the show. I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of shit going on, mom, dad. Like there's some money coming in. I might leave early, right? And then when, you know, I mean, it was a year. I was doing this for a year where I was working full time, Monday to Friday, and then every weekend going somewhere for something, for some event of some nature. And so I think they were anticipating, okay, he's going to leave soon. So when I told them I was going to leave, they weren't surprised by any means, but I did not tell them how and why I left. And they didn't find out until the book. And I gave the book to them early. So I think it was more protection than worried about if it would break us. And to get back to the answer to your question, I think inevitably I would have left with almost 100%. I would have left the bank within 6 months of when that happened. I think this created a situation where it happened a little sooner than expected, but I think within 6 months to a year, there's a very low probability I would have still been there.
Yeah, I'm sure it was like a blessing in disguise. And I think in life, like sometimes things that like really knock us down and shock us, it's because there's something like better coming. And like obviously you were able to really start your career doing your own thing after. So it really all worked out the way it was supposed to. And I mean, Kaitlyn has like all these huge businesses and stuff too. So do you feel like she inspired you to kind of step out and do your own thing and push yourself? Or was this just like a long time in the making for you?
Yeah, I think it was a long time in the making. I mean, listen, Kaitlyn inspires me on a day-to-day basis. Her work ethic and drive is very unbelievable.
It's busy.
Like, she works her ass off. And I think what I'm most inspired by Kaitlyn, like what she has helped me do in the business sense and creative world better than anybody, is she has really helped me stay true to me. She's kind of shaken those whole like corporate banking cobwebs off me. Like, dude, stop talking like that. That's not how you talk. Like, get true to yourself, be yourself. And she's also really helped me get a lot more creative, because I wouldn't say I'm the most creative. So those are the areas that she's like totally inspired me. And then the other thing is, I think what's nice is coming into Kaitlyn's world, while she has these businesses from, you know, just the background that I have, my MBA accounting and finance, her financial acumen and operational acumen, I think she would tell you, was like really low. And so what's cool is like, she would tap on me to be like, okay, walk me through the financials. Like, what does this mean? Like, how do you do this? So she's always used to being in her businesses kind of the talent in the face. And over the last 3 years, she's kind of helped me take a role in being more of like talent face creativity, where I've helped her more with like operations, financial and stuff like that. But yeah, she inspires me daily. She's incredible.
Yeah, you guys are a really good team. You balance each other off like that. And we loved watching her host The Bachelorette. So, I mean, hopefully she could be back to do that one day. But it seems like Jesse Palmer has kind of got locked in the spot. Do you still like watch the show and keep up with it? Or do you kind of just watch it to be in the know?
I think I watch it at first because I feel like because I was on the show, I'm asked often about it from friends, from, you know, social media,
journalists.
Right. So I almost watch it because I feel as though I should, not necessarily because I want to. But then what I will say is I always get hooked in. And usually in the first few weeks, ever since I got off the show, I'm like, oh my God, this is all like, this is literally torture. I'm not watching this week. I can't. And then by week, like the last week finale, I'm like yelling at the TV, like, come on. So I get trapped.
How dare you, Clayton?
Yeah. I'll tell you this though. This is interesting. For some reason, and I don't know why, I think it might be because I know the whole world too well, but I really cannot stand watching Paradise.
Really?
I like I love, and I don't think I've even ever like really talked about this. I love the authenticity and almost like the confusion and the realness of The Bachelor. But then once you take the people who have already been on the show and in the game and doing the social media and everything else, and then you see them in paradise, for some reason it doesn't gravitate towards me. I don't know why. I think maybe the show would be it would be really cool is if you did something less correlated to exactly what the show is, like falling in love, and more focused on like an MTV The Challenge. Because what's interesting about The Bachelor is I've never seen a show ever. These are things I never talk about, Zach. I've never
Yes.
seen a show that has such incredible equity value with their alumni. I mean, what people have done that have come off this show is absolutely crazy, and not utilize or use such a very small percentage of that alumni. Look at every other show and how they have all-stars, or they'll have this, or they have the challenge, on X's on the beach, and there's so much you could do with this stuff. You think about like the controversy that happens on Instagram and the X's and all this stuff. Imagine you put all these people in like a Big Brother type scenario or a challenge or a real world. I mean, it would be the best TV out there.
Well, they had Bachelor Pad way back in the day, like over 10 years ago, where they would have like people go into the mansion, like old contestants, and then they would compete in challenges and they would have to couple up, and then you would vote people off. So it was actually like Survivor meets The Bachelor.
Yeah.
So that would be cool. But I also think it'd be cool if they got like a group of Bachelor alumni in like a city like Nashville or LA even, and just like had them do like a Vanderpump Rules style where they all just like date and like hang out, and it's just more their real life. That would be really cool.
That could be cool. But you also got to remember about Bachelor Pad. What year was that came out?
Probably 2009, 2012.
Okay. So it's a different world now with social media and the blogs and the podcasts, where someone like we are now seeing, and you see all the time because you like report on it, where like someone says something about like, I think Blake said something about the contestants that work for the podcast. Then they respond, and then you hear about like, oh, an ex made an X comment, and then there's like, so I think that because of social media, it's not like you're on the show and the drama stops. It's like the show the drama and nonsense continues, and that's why I think they should reboot something like that. But anyway, neither here nor there.
Yeah, neither here nor there. And who knows? They don't really listen to us all the time. We have so many good ideas for them. But before we kind of wrap things up, you have your podcast as well, where you really talk a lot about money. And I've always been curious, do you tell your guests before they come on, like, I need to know what you're making, to kind of give them that prep? Because not everyone is super comfortable talking about like how much they make and like the analytics behind their career.
Yeah, so we always will prep their team with the fact that this podcast is to open up the vault about money discussions and career navigation. And so Jason is going to ask questions about this, and this. What's interesting is how the teams react. Some teams are extremely prepared, where they will redline I want all the questions. This is what he will answer. This is what he or she will not answer, like a whole thing. Some of them do light prep, and I think they're like a little caught off guard when I ask. And then some of them have no prep at all. And so I'll tell them before, like we jump on, just like, hey, this is what it's about, just so you know. And they're like, it is? Like, oh, okay. And, I will say there's been episodes we've probably not had to use because there's no like value of what the purpose of the show is. So it's it's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, and you do a really good job of getting a bunch of random people from different shows or people from Shark Tank. So I really suggest everyone listen to it. One of my favorite episodes you had was with Corinne from Survivor, because I'm like a huge Survivor fan. So that was a fun one. You have the book, you have the podcast, you have Restart. So what is like the ultimate goal, or where do you kind of see this all going?
Yeah, so I have another book that's coming out, which is great.
Oh, cool.
And, so that book is going to be, I'm still working on getting the final concept approved, but got to start writing here soon. And it's going to be the intertangled webs of, let's just say, money and relationships. So, from a financial standpoint, what you need to know and how it could impact your relationships through every stage. So being single, moving in together, dating, getting engaged, planning for a wedding, getting married, having kids, and hopefully passing that money on, and hopefully not divorced, but that will definitely be covered. So, that's all in there. And then a big thing is I'm like really, really active right now on investing in small businesses and investing in people, and I have ownership in a talent agency now, which has been fantastic,
Cool.
really exciting. So I've been able to, in the last few years, been able to monetize on it. I talk it openly on my podcast. That's why I'm not saying this braggadocious, but on the
Mhm.
podcast, Trade Secrets, for everyone listening, all we do is talk about where money's made and why, because I think it's politically incorrect to talk about it. And what's interesting is really just gives us more information so that we can leverage it to decide what we want to do and what our value should be. So that's why I talk about it. But I've been able to monetize at the 7-figure level with influencing and brand endorsements. And so if I could do it for myself, maybe I could do it and help people do it for them. And so I've
Mhm.
invested in an agency. I own 50% of it. And so it's been
Cool.
really fun to be able to almost have like an agency that's for talent, run by talent, because the people that are running it are the people that have seen the good, bad, and ugly of this side. So that's been fun too.
Oh, right. Well, we obviously have a lot to learn from you. Me too, as I'm just trying to get myself started in my career and doing influencing and stuff. So thank you so much for taking the time. I hope that everyone learned something from this. Where could everybody follow you and get the book?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Congrats on all your success, by the way.
Thank
Uh,
you.
cool to see what you're doing and the fact that you're just pursuing what you love. And I saw the Kelly Clarkson thing the other day, and I immediately saw it. I'm like, that is just so cool. Like that had to
Yeah.
be for you. And you're doing it, you're living it, you're making it happen. It's awesome. So
Thank
thanks
you.
again for having me, and congrats to everything you have going on.
Yeah.
I'm just Jason underscore Tartick on all my social handles. And then the podcast is Trading Secrets. You can find it wherever you find your podcasts. And then the consulting agency is Restart underscore Reset. And then the book is called The Restart Roadmap. It's on, you can buy it on Target, Barnes and Noble. Probably the easiest, especially if you have Amazon Prime, is you can just type in The Restart Roadmap. It's there, and we've been up to a good start. We had 4 bestsellers, and we got
Cool.
number 1 new release on the Wall Street Journal bestselling list, which is cool too. So
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I finished reading it, so I'm going to pass it to a couple of my friends who actually really need it a little bit more than I do. So thank you so much.
love it. Thank you so much for having me.